Değerli Enterprise Next izleyicileri, bugünkü konuğumuz Red Hat Küresel Telekomünikasyon Baş Teknolojisti Azhar Sayeed. Kendisi sektörde 25 yıllık deneyime sahip olan, uzmanlık alanında yayınladığı kitapları ve patentleri olan bir yönetici. Şu anda Red Hat bünyesinde yeni mimarileri tanımlamak, bulut ve sanallaştırma için dağıtım modelleri ve stratejileri geliştirmek için dünya çapında iletişim hizmeti sağlayan şirketlerle çalışıyor. Ki bu şirketlerin arasında Türkiye'den Turkcell de var. Tabii telekomünikasyon geniş bir alan. Bu nedenle bugün kendisiyle 5G ve yapay zeka üzerinde sohbet etmek istiyorum. Dear Said, thank you very much for attending our Enterprise Next broadcast. Today I would like to talk about the importance of the 5G and AI on modern telecommunication infrastructures. What will we see in the near future? Can we just get your comments about that?
Thank you, Levin. Thank you for the opportunity. AI is actually becoming much more pervasive in all fields. AI, we have heard about AI in healthcare, we've heard about AI in security, we've heard about AI, in various aspects. In telecommunications too, AI has a huge role to play. Right from, doing analytics on customer subscriber information and data to improve their experiences, to customer experiences, to actually automating, managing operations of the infrastructure. AI will play a huge role in telecommunications as well. Then there is an additional role AI will play as a set of services that telecommunications providers can offer to their subscribers. What would that be? Now, they could be, for example, a telecommunications telecommunications provider can offer to their subscriber, AI-based edge for better healthcare to the subscriber, for IoT capabilities to the subscribers. So there are many uses, in my opinion, of how AI can be used and applied. We can discuss any one of these particular use cases, and we can discuss any one of these, capabilities a telecommunications provider can actually use and play a role with AI. One area that we have heard a lot about from telecommunication providers is, in general, operations and operations automation. Now, once you do operations and automation of the operations in the infrastructure, especially if you start to move towards a cloud-based infrastructure, then it all is software-driven. And then you can do a lot of telemetry. And when you glean the telemetry from the information, from the infrastructure, from the, servers, switches, from your, wide area infrastructure or data center infrastructure, and you take that, put it into a data lake. Now you have enough data there to actually run your learning algorithms, to run your, artificial intelligence software, to understand what's going on in the infrastructure. And then you can create a closed loop system based on that data, based on that intelligence that you've developed and over a period of time crafted and honed, that you can actually automate the operational model. And you can then do things like, preventive actions before failures occur. AI has so many interesting uses where you can actually recognize data patterns and say, oh, this device is failing. It's going to fail for me. Oh, I have these following environmental conditions. I have the following streams of data. I have this one's going on, and now I'm going to run out of buffer space. When I run out of buffer space, that means now streaming experience of my customers is going to be bad. So I can actually make proactive changes, start to redirect traffic before that happens. So this is the type of autonomous operations or autonomous networks that people talk about using actually AI. Now in 5G specifically, there is usage of AI in analytics, especially when you control RAN components. So for example, a use case that allows you to do beam steering. So beam steering is for example, you're delivering a medicine at an emergency location of an accident through a drone. Now that drone has the highest priority when it flies from the hospital over to the scene of the accident. Okay, now that drone can be controlled remotely, obviously, but it now is actually using 5G capability to be able to track and deliver that. And you have to actually, as it passes through cells, you can actually do beam steering to make sure that that gets the priority. Now, this is RAN management, radio access network management, right? This is done via RAN intelligent controller, via Open RAN components, and these are all part of 5G. So A, you're delivering a service, low latency, ultra reliable service. B, it does require bandwidth. C, it requires tuning of the infrastructure. And you know, how do you actually do that tuning? You require data and analytics. So in 5G, there's a capability called NWDAF, Network Data Analytics Function. That NWDAF, there are people now, vendors, 5G vendors, RAN vendors are beginning to build that NWDAF capability as part of the 5G infrastructure, where they can actually take infrastructure data, network function data, and actually do correlation analysis so that they can actually provide better spectral efficiency, better service delivery, better, in the 5G wireless space.
Okay, so after 5G, probably billions of people, and in the near future, trillions of devices is going to be connected to the network, network infrastructures, and the AI is going to take a very particular role to managing all this infrastructure without any human intervention. This is the benefit for the networks. Can you tell me about some kind of scenarios that the actual user is going to be experienced with the AI and the 5G? What kind of futuristic scenarios is going to be happening in the near future with this kind of technologies?
Sure. So from an user experience perspective, let's say what changes. I'm a subscriber, telecommunication subscriber. I expect things to happen behind the scenes without my knowledge, but I expect the service to be the same. Service degradation does not happen. So when I am moving from my house to outdoor location to I'm involved in an emergency accident to that entire experience does not change for me, where actually I'm able to get faster, better healthcare, faster, better, access to information, or better, I don't have to worry about my network infrastructure going down or my service going down. So from my point of view, it will be more, oh, you had a problem and it was fixed. I just need a notification. I'll give you one simple example of how this connected world will evolve. And 5G will enable that through edge compute and through faster and low latency connectivity. It's my own personal experience. I mean, I have some smart thermostats sitting at home, and I have actually done a little bit of programming on those smart thermostats using IFTTT, right? If then, the IFTTT protocol.
Yes.
Yes. So I've done a little bit of smart programming on those thermostats on IFTTT. And I was in January, I was in actually Brazil, last January, not this January, before Corona. Right, in 2020 January. And my thermostat is actually looking and analyzing what's going on in my house in terms of measuring. So I have multiple remote sensors in my house and the thermostat also. So there are two remote sensors on the main floor and then the thermostat. So it's actually measuring temperatures from different locations inside the house. And it's actually keeping track of what's going on in terms of heating. So in Boston, we get cold and it needs to heat very well. And so I'm actually in Brazil, and I get a notification on my phone because of the programming that I've done. It says for the last 3 hours, it's calling for heat, but the temperature in your house has actually gone down. Your heater is failing, right? And so I say, oh, okay, this is a problem. Now I call my wife, and I'm in Brazil, she's in Boston. I called my wife and I said, how's the house temperature? She goes, yeah, it feels a little cold. I said, no, it's not working properly. Call the technician. Now, I could have easily programmed a little thing to call the technician, and the technician would have shown up at the door. But it's a very simple example of how you can look at data, analyze what's happening, and trend it over a period of time to simply create a small closed loop. And that's a very, very, very simple but elegant example. Of course, the technician came, fixed it. We didn't have to suffer through the heat, but it's a great example of how you can get feedback, and you can actually things. And if it was programmed to do preventive action or shut it down or run another alternative furnace or do something else, that could have happened. And that is where your autonomous capability comes into picture. Now, this is where I really feel from as subscribers, as consumers, we can benefit from some of these type of service offers. Now, you couple AI with edge compute. Security is a huge area and example of how edge compute can be used to do tracking, face tracking, people tracking, identification through CCTV cameras. It's actually enforced in many, many areas. And they're doing, what are they doing? They're running machine learning algorithms to actually understand who's what, even if you're wearing a mask, even if you're covered. So in public safety and security, there are huge applications that are already in flight that people have started to implement through video, using AI, and and then making life safer for the citizen, for me, for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some great examples of how you can use data and analytics to make life better for the citizens.
Actually, I have a similar scenario. I have a cat in my house, and when I'm abroad, I'm not in home. I'm just sometimes activating remotely my robot vacuum cleaner to just amuse her, entertain her. Okay.
Right.
So sometimes I think that if it could understand by itself that the cat is just walking around, it seems to be bored, so let me just go away, not for cleaning the house, but just to entertain the cat. Okay, so this kind of capability with this kind of artificial intelligence could be very useful for me. Okay, yeah. My next question is, as Red Hat, how do you make them possible? How do you contribute to all these technologies? What's your role in it?
Sure. So Red Hat actually plays a huge role in this space, both working with telecommunications providers and partners who serve the telecommunication providers, and also in upstream communities. What's Red Hat? The way Red Hat works is Red Hat is in the business of building platforms that host these type of applications, platforms that host 5G core, edge functions, RAN intelligent controller functions, and so on. So what we have to understand is how is the application using the platform, and how is it actually deployed, and how is it consumed. If we understand that better, then we can build a layer that allows it to be much more seamless, that allows it to be much more efficient. So for example, for RAN, as an example, for 5G RAN, if you do Open RAN, you require certain capabilities from the platform. Otherwise, if you're not doing Open RAN and you're doing a closed ecosystem, then obviously you're going to use that particular vendor's equipment. But if you do Open RAN, then you require the platform to provide certain hardware acceleration, certain latency guarantee. Now, when you're doing AI, machine learning, and a closed loop system at the edge, you require certain latency guarantee within that particular latency bound. So what we do is we ensure that on that particular platform, that you're actually able to provide that latency guarantee, that you're actually able to provide that real-time capability, that you're actually able to provide high-speed data crunching, data analytics capability on that platform. So what we do is, because we are in the business of building platforms, we have to make the platform as efficient as possible. Now, obviously, when you build a platform, you can't expect to have a data center on every street. On streets, you will have these small gateways, or on the central office, you'll have smaller footprint devices. So we have to make sure that the platform is functional across those components in different form factors, right? small, medium, large, big data centers, and is able to provide that same operational experience to the provider. That's what Red Hat is in the business of. And then so what we do through that, we participate in upstream communities. Like Enterprise Neurosystem is a community that's actually looking at what it means to implement AI in an enterprise. And how do you build in a system with network, with compute, with storage in the enterprise that it becomes more and more intelligent over a period of time. That's the Enterprise Neurosystem capability. So we are part of that Enterprise Neurosystem. We're trying to understand what sort of telemetry do we need to provide for the Enterprise Neurosystem? What sort of information can we do? Can we run? We ourselves get a lot of data from our customers. We have a product called Red Hat Insights. Red Hat Insights is actually using some algorithms to understand what our customers are using. How are they using it? And can we make it more efficient for them? So these are all different areas in which Red Hat, works, participates in the AI community and in the, and is interested in actually making AI work.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sayeed. It's a very pleasure to meet you and talk to you about all the subjects. And thank you very much for all the information that you shared with us in this important subject.
My pleasure, Levin. Thank you so much. I really, appreciate this time.
Thank you. Değerli izleyicilerimiz, bugünkü konuğumuz Red Hat Küresel Telekomünikasyon Baş Analisti Azhar Sayeed'ti. Kendisiyle telekomünikasyon ağlarının yakın geleceğini ve 5G ve yapay zekanın rolünü konuştuk. Enterprise Next röportajlarımız devam edecek.